Alrighty, daily trading recap. Let's get after it today. It is not the current day that we are reviewing, which was Friday, the 1st of April, 2022. Had some other stuff getting caught up in the way, but still getting after that review and just putting some quick synopsis of what we did over that day. And we'll also get into the monthly trading recap as well, I think over this weekend, hopefully today, to review everything going on for this month, where we're at, where we're currently looking to go, everything that we've learned, done, failed at, succeeded at, and all those factors that we're so excited for it. No market dollar volume for reference for me because it is quite a ways after the market close on that day. But to Christ be the glory, as always. Let's get after it. I only had $300 today, which is yesterday, to trade with in my cash account, so really not looking to do anything absolutely crazy. I was actually getting pretty antsy as well with this 9:30 futures trade that I've just been continuing to implement every single day here. The overnight session, not an overnight, but a session, the session strategy that I've been doing with the futures contract worked out beautifully, getting that 10 points above the open there. Still using the MES contract modality for that strategy to play out on that very just simple parameter set. And the same thing with the 9:30 opportunity here. This ended up becoming the high of the day, which was crazy to think about for where we opened and getting that 2 points above the open price there, using that as the barometer and metric just to continue to pounce every single day for that high win rate, and that also factoring in of being able to take enough profit on the days that it does win, but also not force too much out of the trade and be able to cover the backside of the move when it doesn't happen for those non-hit rate times. So working out beautifully today, 150 day in the profit on that. And that's it. Let's get into two quick tickers today. HUSN mentioned first. American Transport Biotech, not a biotech, American Transport Logistics Company. They got a 12 million float. News catalyst today was prioritizing U.S. operations and sales of Chinese assets. Okay, whatever that means. Ran into some perfect resistance just at $3 here, and I think even on, if my memory serves me correctly, that line offered some amount of resistance on the daily as well, just for overall. That may be totally off. It's a little bit after when I did that pre-market note there, but of course it did have a few runs pretty close to it with a big volume day on the 21st of this last month of March now. But in the same way of kind of expecting something maybe similar to CELZ of what it did, that it was still in that recent euphoria of had that first big green day move, so maybe expecting something similar to that, looking for the plan coming in pre-market was, hey, let's look for any amount of spikeage around VWAP maybe that we can get a short into. If it doesn't happen, let's do the similar thing to FWBI, that is just a complete death short out of the open and let it play this fade and dying, dreary candle existence on the daily. So again, starting in short, it did have just little voluminous. I'm not going to play it or touch around with it during that first minute, but that was really the high for the morning session before the first half hour of market open. And as it's starting to test these lows here and look to break them, starting with the paper short. This is all paper. 253, I want to say, somewhere around there, playing it. Getting out in some into strength here at 238 at that little bottom. Has a little tiny bounce and kind of holding that level again. So getting out more right around that same level and just leaving the rest of it. I think it was less than half that it had to be of, I'm not going to force anything more out of you, but I'm going to let you do what you want to do. I don't want to cut you short. I could see holding you even to the afternoon or closer to the close just to let it completely die and bleed out. And it's very improbable that it just has a huge, crazy random spike. And then sure enough, I come to the computer again and bam, it's at freaking $3 already. So that's what was factored in. These are the ones that are those type of tickers that force you to take profits early. I'm very glad that I do take profits along the way and pay myself for this specific reason, to protect against this crazy randomness that like an hour later, 2 hours later, just completely pretends like it just didn't even exist. We're right back at the previous prices that we were just trading at. But that's the reason why. And seeing this backside again is another reason that I want to throw on top of the fact of why do I don't get scared out by these, or why I don't just immediately set profit or stops at break even or at just random arbitrary prices of, I threw at 2.9, price at 2.9 here, just randomly arbitrarily thinking, I don't even think this price is going to reach that high. I don't think it's going to go crazy or beyond that, but if it does, I'm not going to play with fire and just let it short squeeze. But sure enough, it did reach there. That became like one of the perfect points, and then ended up shooting up even higher off of that, going crazy. These are kind of the outliers, but they still live in that realm of have to be factored into this type of trade, of playing this morning fade trade, this first green day short type of trade, play that needs to be, because these are winners. It's went against you, yeah, and it could obviously, and it did scare me out, but it shouldn't be. It wasn't the sentiment for the day. And the same thing that I'm finding with the futures of, is my account actually able enough to withstand those type of losses? If it's 100+% loss, am I able to? What kind of size am I using with that? Will my broker actually allow me to take that kind of unrealized P&L? Because this is part of the trade. I mean, this scariness, sketchiness, this is just these are all manipulated companies, and they're all going to kind of do the same type of thing. And it's famous last words when they don't, that it gets 1,000% against you, and it's still going, oh, it has to turn now, right? Famous last words. But I mean, time and time again, like, we're breaking it down in the sections of, 9 times out of 10, like, it works out this way. And then that 1 time out of 10, 9 times out of those 10, it works out this way. Of this HUSN chart today, that it goes crazy and spikes, and that morning just gets all the shorts like me to just squeeze out, but then eventually within intraday comes back down again to test those little levels there. So it's just, and then it's a 1 time out of 10, would still trading it that way be a profitable strategy for the playbook, to continue to look at those perspectives like that, protecting against the black swans of the DWACs and the CEIs, and I mean, pick your flavor for that type of example. But great little learning lesson on that one today, even though it was paper. Still feeling the emotions, still going through the process of finding bottoms, finding key areas to get an entry point on these types of charts. So great one on HUSN there. And then LGVN, of course, beautiful. Second day, gap up today. Chris, I think actually getting long today, protecting if more squeeziness was going to happen just immediately out of the gates. And it was just going to be crazy because he was right. We have not seen a nice gap up like this on a second day move in a very, very long time. So with that newness and just curiosity of what's going on, excited to see what the level 2 and time and sales would suggest what was going to happen, or what the price action would end up eventually turning out to be. Glad I got the screen recording of that yesterday on Trader HQ to replay that over and over again. The first trade I took was only, of course I was trading with $300 size on both of these, so these were only 10 shares, and I think 8 shares that I took on this second little trade. First trade I took was leaving and letting it go for at least the first 5 minutes there of just, okay, do your craziness. I know you're just going to be sketchy. If you define a trend, if you just start going rampant one way or another, okay, great. It's like, who can predict that going into the market day? I think that's just totally up for grabs either way, and it's just complete guessing at that point. But after it puts in some amount of volume, lays down some amount of foundational work, identifying maybe we're getting a little bit of a wedge here, that it's, okay, we're kind of sketching this. Big wicks, obviously, big volume coming in, but okay, price is now defining itself, and should it break one way or another, that could be the indicator of a more sustained move coming after it. So that was the thought process with potentially it breaking VWAP here and it breaking this little trend line, if you want to call it that, within this candle. Ooh, this may be a short trend. I maybe have to just play this paper, of course, because I can't be shorting right now with my margin account, but it could be a downward sentiment. But sure enough, it recovers after that, and actually how that did increase my incentive even more of saying, okay, now it still kind of held that range, and now we're getting some strength to break to the upside of that little regional move. Let's play some long here. Play for the break above 16.5 to new highs. A full breakout, crazy sentiment trade. Sure enough, got absolutely just stuffed and demolished the minute candle following that one. So had my stop, adjusting my stop accordingly as I got filled and recognized, okay, price is now pushing above to new breakout highs. Should it just start to slam, I know I want to be protecting myself and watching out for a lot of slippage below. And glad I got filled right around close to that $16 range and making it not so hard of a slippage factor. Even though it was just very few shares, is still protecting myself that way. I feel is good metrics to go with going forward. Huge volume candle to smack it down under VWAP, but still maintains that little getting into that perfect timing for the dip and rip setup again, even though it's second day, but holding very nice key technical levels. And this trade beautifully resembling what it did precisely on that previous first screen day of getting to that same time frame, putting in some obvious key technical levels here just under VWAP, breaking them, attracting or sucking in all the longs to stops, and then immediately recovering right after that and producing similar type of range to follow that. It's exactly the methodology that I did for this trade as it broke this little range, 14.75, who we want to call it there. Broke to the downside of there, but recovered, failed to continue to break to a new low, get long at 14.70, risking 20-ish cents to 14.50 around there. factoring in slippage in the current time, blah, blah, whatever. Getting a nice move to VWAP itself. I wanted to say that I was looking for 16 minimum. I was looking for this thing to just get a quick shove. And of course, the full goal would have been to go to a new high of day, obviously. That's why I was keeping a few shares on with this little exit. But selling in as I thought it was topping, just short of VWAP, getting a few off, 15, 25-ish, 15, 30-ish, around there. Getting some more in as it failed to break to the upside of VWAP again. Thought it gets, with these tickers, it just gets to the stage of, is it worth the just manipulation and toying factor so many times over that just burns you mentally, that is it really worth spending the mental capital money on this type of trade, or is it better to look at this from a different perspective almost? I don't know where I'm going with that, but I think with this specific trade, I think that was the best appropriate paradigm to view this chart with, from just kind of the greatest seat of power for that specific long trade, and protecting against potential downside, for letting it do what it wants to do, but also having enough room to let it do that. So sure enough, I get stopped out, setting my stop kind of at break even, but it failed to break there. Failed to break to a new low of day, a real new low of day, which would have signified the end of the trade for me. Still continues to hold and kind of does another fake out. Actually gets to the upside of VWAP, but huge volume rejection there again, and then that really was the downward trending sentiment for the morning session, before it eventually did find some more bases and put in a nice little afternoon session to get back to the upside of VWAP, but not putting in a new high of day and continuing to hold. We'll see what the third day on Monday holds for 2 days from now. That would be Monday. Pretty exciting stuff and great learning opportunities always. And that is really all that I had. Just quick little review day following that trading day of Friday. Continuing to get after it and grind away with each and every single day. Excited for this monthly trading recap to review everything that was good, review everything that was bad, and I'm going to allude to what the monthly goal for April will be for each individual trade that I hold myself accountable to, is coming from March, and March and February were the same goal of, hey, put in the work necessary to succeed, versus where I want to shift April more towards the mindset of push harder on the winners and eliminate the losers, right? It just push harder on the things that are working and eliminate the things that aren't. Like, I think that's the best phrasing. I think that works from my mind of, in this experimentation, in this testing and drawing out of myself, what is actually finding any holes, or what is producing success, what is producing profits, what is not. Let's eliminate the things that are not. Let's find the habits and mannerisms in which we can produce more of the things that we want to see, which is more money. At the end of the day, that's all we're really working towards. So breaking it down just that way more and more, and continuing on. I sincerely thank you guys for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one.